Hey all, and welcome to another installment of Differently Wired, the channel dedicated to smashing stigma around neurodiversity and promoting acceptance of those with neurodivergent brains. Welcome back, everyone. I'm kind of sorry it took me a little bit to do this video. I've been having a bit of executive functioning issues, and that's a topic for a whole other video. But I'm back, I'm here, and I'm really glad that people enjoyed the day in the life video. Didn't get quite as many views as I was hoping, but it seems like a slow burn video, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. So if you haven't checked it out, check that one out. And also, if you haven't noticed, we're in HD now.
Here's how I look.
I finally figured out a solution to the audio and video problems I've been struggling with since I started this channel, and it looks like we're good. I mean, fingers crossed. I'm trying a slightly different method recording this video, so I hope it works out, and I'm going to keep playing with it until I have the best quality, but it looks like we're doing better. So, that being the case, today's video is something that it's something I've had on the back of my mind for a little bit, and it's something that I wanted to talk about a bit more in more detail. So, essentially what I'm talking about is the autistic feeling of otherness. Now, you might be wondering what I mean by that. And essentially what it comes down to is I always feel like an alien. It doesn't matter how close we are. It doesn't matter how much of a bond we have. It doesn't matter how much rapport we have or how likable I seem to be or how well I'm doing with you in public or that kind of thing. I always feel detached and like an other, and like I don't fully belong. I always feel uncomfortable and squirmy in my own skin, and like I feel different. And a lot of autistic people feel this way. In fact, there's a whole reason why a lot of people have described their autism, and even back when Asperger's was an official diagnostic label, people described it as wrong planet syndrome. Because it's totally a thing that a lot of autistic people feel. In fact, most of us feel. And I think it comes down to how the neurodivergent brain processes neurotypical social life and neurotypical social expectations and all that stuff. I mean, I did a whole video on that. If you want to check it out, it's in my list of videos. But essentially, wrong planet syndrome, the feeling of being an other and standing apart and being like not quite part of the gang even though you are, or people see you as, is a quintessential autistic thing. I want to explain this using everyone's favorite sci-fi series and what I'm sure is definitely, you can definitely tell is the autistic passion of mine by now, Star Trek. Now, in almost every single Star Trek series, there is inevitably an episode where the crew has to study a less technologically advanced civilization. It might be because they're delivering supplies to a undercover study operation going on there. It might be that they're scouting out a new planet that they've discovered and they've found a society that's at an earlier level of technological development than them. This is a trope as old as Star Trek itself, and it runs the gamut from planet where Rome never fell to planet with space Nazis, where World War II went disastrously, to planet where people decided to emulate Chicago mobs of the 1920s for everything. Like, seriously, guys, like, why? Star Trek, TOS, what was up with that? We're all talking about you. We know it was you. Anyway, I digress. So, Starfleet has a rule, the Prime Directive. And the Prime Directive basically states that Starfleet personnel cannot interfere with the natural development of an alien civilization that has not achieved warp drive and the ability to contact other alien races. We basically have to stay the heck out of their affairs and let them develop in their own way.
It is our highest law that we shall not interfere with other cultures.
Now, this works perfectly fine if you're an academic who's been studying a planet like in an earlier stage of technological development for years. You'll have a little bit of an understanding of their social mores, their customs, their traditions, what they value, what they think is cool, what they think is not cool, the way their technology works, you name it. You'll have a grounding. So even if you're not one of them, if push comes to shove and you have to pass as one of them with a little bit of surgical alteration and some improvising, you probably could. But Starfleet personnel from starships don't always have it as easy, because they're often learning on the fly what these people can do, what these people like, what these people don't like, what their values are, that kind of thing. The ship's doctor can surgically alter them to look like this alien race in question, because that's another whole thing, is why are all the alien races in Star Trek humanoid? Ahem. Yes, quite. Getting back on topic, you could be surgically altered to look like one of them, but you have no clue what their culture is, what their traditions are, the way they talk to each other. You have no clue how to relate, and you're learning on the fly, and even if you get pretty good at improvising your way through it, they'll all know something is up. It's glaringly obvious.
Dana, that was not funny.
My friends, this, in a nutshell, is what it feels like to be autistic. The best way I can describe being autistic and trying to navigate the neurotypical social world is participant observation. Like, again, going back to the Starfleet metaphor, you're an anthropologist studying this society of humans that you found yourself in, and you cannot get back to your mothership, but you're stuck here, but you have to make the best of it, but you don't really know what they're doing beyond a cursory study. Like, you don't feel like you're part of them. You feel like you're separate and apart and studying them from a distance while doing just enough to get by and pass among them so as not to raise too much suspicion. As an example from my own personal life, when I was in grade 7 and 8, which I mentioned in my What Does Star Trek Mean to Me video, was not a very good period in my life. I was bullied a lot for being the weird, awkward, nerdy kid. Bullied for being the autistic kid without so much as being called that, because no one really understood that at the time. I was bullied a lot, and I was always kind of other, and I felt like that just intrinsically, even without that. Like, all the other kids would gather at recess in little groups, like circles, and they'd stand around and they'd talk amongst each other and they'd laugh and they'd joke and that kind of thing. And they all did this, all in the schoolyard. It was circle of kids, circle of kids, circle of kids, circle of kids. And then there was me. And I was observing this, but I had no clue why they did that. How did they know to do that? How did they understand instinctively to just form a circle like that? None of them were talking to each other. None of them had planned, okay, we're all going to stand in circles today. But they all did it. And I had no clue why.
Why?
Why does this make sense? Why are you doing this? Another behavior that I noticed was one of the girls one day dyed her hair red. And everyone seemed to think it was cool. And as an adult, I definitely think colored hair is a cool thing. But at the time, as a young teenager on the autism spectrum, I was like, well, why would you dye your hair red? What possessed you to think that was a good idea? Why do you think that's cool? Is it peacocking behavior? Is it, attempts to draw the attention of other people in the group? Further study is required. And this is exactly how my brain worked. Like, I had a metric ton of notes in my brain of how the social situation on the schoolyard worked, who the in kids were, who the out kids were, what they did, how they peacocked to each other in the case of like things like red hair or like other styles of dress that they embraced, that kind of thing. But I had no clue what drove them to do it, nor did I have any clue how to, take advantage of a good thing for myself, and this is the quintessential autistic experience. Oh, that's cool. You're all doing the thing. How do I do the thing too? And why do you know to do the thing? I very much felt like a Starfleet officer who'd been surgically altered to pass as one of these strange group of almost humans and been abandoned or deserted on this planet and could not reach the mothership. I felt like I was on a mission from another world and that I wasn't one of them.
I bring you love.
It's bringing love. Don't let it get away.
Break its legs!
And the funny thing about this feeling is that it doesn't ever really go away. Like, there are times when it ebbs and it flows in life, and naturally, we all have our ups and downs, and there are times when I feel really othered and really weird and really apart, and then there are times where I almost forget I feel it. And certain people definitely have that impact. Certain people make you feel more warm and comforted than others. But you don't really ever stop feeling this way, at least in my experience. Again, take all this with a grain of salt because this is all my life experience, not anyone else's. But I don't find you ever stop feeling this way. Even at work, like, yes, I'm told I'm a likable person. I'm told I'm a likable coworker, and, I'm told I'm awesome by at least one fellow in my department. But at the same time, I always feel different and weird and awkward and detached and like I don't really belong there. But, I'll tell you what can mitigate it is when you find your special interest, when you find your passion through which you can communicate with the group by proving your talent and your ability and not having them look on you as anything other than someone who's capable of that. In some ways, autistic special interests, autistic passions are our connective lifelines to the strange, weird, neurotypical world that just doesn't fully understand us. And that's the thing, is finding your group, finding your niche, finding your talent, finding your friend family, finding other members of your stranded and wayward crew who have found themselves trapped here as well, and also can't make heads or tails of the strange culture of neurotypicals, so other neurodivergent folks. That is extremely validating. Building communities of people who appreciate you for you versus people who just want you to conform and be a certain way for their own benefit is so essential. I cannot speak highly enough of how essential that is. And that's the big thing to remember about autism in general, is autism isn't it's a pervasive developmental condition. Yes. It's part of us. Yes. It never goes away. Yes. But it can also be very situational. Like if you're among people who accept you and validate you for who you are, and you're working at a place that uses your talents, or or doing something with your life that uses your talents and minimizes your weaknesses, you'll always feel like a bit of an other. I do. But it mitigates it quite a bit. You feel like you have a niche, you have a place where you belong more so. You feel more connected because this is your thing. These are your people. It never goes away, but it's situational and can be mitigated, and situations can bring out the strengths and minimize the weaknesses. And again, going back to what I've always said on this channel, neurodiversity is mostly a gift. There are challenging aspects of being autistic, but a lot of it comes down to a society that doesn't understand how to talk to us and how to relate to us. So finding your niche, finding your place that you belong, easier said than done, 100%. It's one of the keys to having a successful experience. And give yourself patience and be compassionate on yourself, because the thing is, you might be here for a while. I personally have not been able to contact the mothership on Subspace, and I'm pretty sure that we're down here for quite a bit yet. So while we're stuck on this strange alien planet, to all the lost and wayward members of my crew, some of you I've met, some of you I have not met yet, but I want you all to know that we're in this together. If you want to bond, or you want to talk, or you want to connect, or anything like that, I'm here for you. And I think we should all be there for each other. We'll get home to the Federation someday. But until we do, some of these neurotypicals aren't so bad. Some of them are even kind of cool. And when you find the ones who embrace you, whether they be members of our crew or members of this strange alien society, embrace them, because they are your people. Live long and prosper. if you like this video and want to see more content by me at Differently Wired, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video on all social media. Also, you can find a link to my Patreon down below, and I'd really love if you continue to support me. You guys rock, like I said, and I really look forward to making more content for you guys. So until next time, keep it neurodivergent, folks.